Hello everyone! Hi Deltia. Hi Sigtree.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Doing all right. How are you?
Very well. Very fine. Thank you. Hi chat room. So today, guys, we are speaking about One Tamriel. This is the subject that you voted, so we are speaking about that. We will tell you everything that we think about it, but first we will start by explaining you what One Tamriel it is exactly, because it was not what the Elder Scrolls Online was at the beginning. So if you are old player and you have stopped for a long while, maybe you do not know what it is. And if you are a new player, well, yeah, you have only know One Tamriel and you have no idea of what it was before. So it's interesting to talk to you in detail about what One Tamriel is, because it really changed the Elder Scrolls Online.
All right, One Tamriel, Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, whatever politically correct the way you want me to say it. Damn it. Have a good goddamn day. I hope you all have a great day. So One Tamriel, this was a free update, so it wasn't a DLC, it wasn't a major expansion, it wasn't nothing like that. It basically, in my opinion, it was one of the most groundbreaking changes in the game. It really made it feel like Skyrim. So let's just go over what it added and what it changed. Remember, all these were a part of the base game, so this is a really, really good patch. So free DLC, like I said, or patch update. Weapon ultimates came with that. Before that, there was no weapon ultimates. That's a huge deal. Now they were, some of them were a little overbuffed, a little undertuned, but we figured out how to exploit them real quick. Dueling, that has been its own community, own thing in Stormhaven and everywhere else forever now. Huge impact. Revamped Craglorn. I know Aloha likes that type of stuff. And then basically it set that you could go anywhere in the world. So it was like before, you had to start in your little zone in Daggerfall and work your way up through the questing path. And then you had to finish a storyline to jump to another area. This just really opened up the game. So that was huge, especially if you're a grinder like me. You got a whole new access to grinds. Witches Festival as well came with this. Right around that time, that's update 12. And this is what I was looking at, it was like last year. So I know we stopped for a while, but it's been a minute since this thing was released. And then a couple things for me. 30 new sets. So basically what it did was it revamped a bunch of old sets that were in the game that were like, let's say VR12 or CP120 or 140, and updated them to the end game. It also added 16 new monster masks, like Troll King, our little favorite, and then dungeon changes. So before there would be like only Direfrost Keep Vet or something like that, or only Direfrost Normal. And it split everything into a normal and a vet, and then a 1 and a 2, and a 1 and a 2 had normal and vet. So there's just tons of stuff. And craft bags, which is like the whole reason I pay for ESO Plus, right? So real quick, this is how the game should have launched, in my opinion. But we're gonna have Sig first. What was your overall opinion of One Tamriel?
Overall, it's probably the best update to the game that we've seen. It opened up so much in terms of being able to play with people who you couldn't play with before because of either faction differences or level differences. And then to touch on, the dungeon thing, what an amazing way to take content that already exists and change it so that you basically took, content that was already there and changed it in a way that added 200% more content. Now you've got those multiple modes on both versions of each dungeon if they had a 1 and a 2, and there was really a lot of great reason to get in there and do all that stuff. And then they furthered that even further with Homestead by adding the trophies and stuff like that to it. But those were the two big things that came with it that really just exploded the potential, for having fun in the game, I think.
Indeed.
I stole a lower.
No, she's going to go on about Craglorn. Go.
No, Craglorn, I want to skip it because that was one of the part that completely failed in One Tamriel, in my opinion. But it doesn't matter. So, when I was beta testing, or even say alpha testing, because I was in very, very early testing Elder Scrolls Online, and I remember to have said, do that, do like Guild Wars 2, do scalable content, so it's not open enough. People will not enjoy that. It should be Elder Scrolls, like Skyrim. You need to travel everywhere. And I remember to have spoken about One Tamriel, or what could be a sort of One Tamriel, from the very beginning, in details, how I envisioned the things, how I envisioned my ideal Elder Scroll game. I think we even talked about that in One Timeout from Tamriel at some point. One Tamriel is the change that needed for the game, because it allows flexibility, replayability, openness. People can play together. That's what a multiplayer game needs, and that's what a game based on the franchise that's speak about exploration need. But there's bad side from One Tamriel. There's things that's the problem we were discussing last week about the difficulty that comes from One Tamriel, for instance, because of the scaling system. The content needed to be equal for everyone, so a new player that never play Elder Scrolls Online can jump into Reaper's March, which is one of the end zone of the Aldmeri Dominion, and need to be able to do his quests and not face a boss that will destroy him. Same things with the dungeon, so that's really great. You had normal dungeon before, and once you reach max level you could do the veteran dungeon that were different, so they had different bosses with different mechanic. By making all dungeon either veteran or normal, they had to tune them down. The normal mode now is very easy in comparison to what a normal mode was before, and the veteran mode has become a little bit harder. For the trial it's even more true, but I think that's a good point actually. So the normal version of the trial is not equivalent to what the trial once was. So Aetherion Archive in normal is very easy in comparison to what Aetherion Archive was at release. But Aetherion Archive Veteran is very hard. That's content that is tuned intently for people like Deltia that make builds and just blow up their target dummies. So that's...
Are you calling me a target dummy meatball?
No, I say that you've blown up target dummies, that you're the destroyer of target dummies.
Alright, so that's your... Now, my opinion on this was the ultimate Theory Crafters patch. This was... Gil and I sat for 1 week, tested weird-ass stuff. No one thought Troll King was good. We made a video on it. No one thought 7th Legion was good. We made a video on it. I mean, there was sets that we were like, remember this set we used to use, but it was only at VR12, and then it became CP120, and now it's in a trial. It's going to bring it back. We just sat and tinkered and tinkered and tinkered. And even all through all that tinkering, we didn't figure it all out. We still don't know about it. So for like a theory crafter and a builds perspective, now you had basically 30 to 45 different sets, because you have the dungeon sets, you have the old sets that were updated. Some of them got fixed or changed, like Burning Spellwave got a massive boost. That fundamentally changed PvE. You had all the new monster helms. Like it just like it took so long for people to figure out what the meta was, because one person says this, but a month later we figure out this is a much better setup. Huge difference, huge change for us. So it was like, we just tinkered and tinkered and tinkered. You're always trying to get a little bit better, but it felt like that was the one patch where it was like, I don't want to post any builds because 1 week from now we might find out this new set is just fundamentally awesome. So, and they really made the PTS accessible during this patch and really easy to get the gear. This was that one patch for me where like testing was actually quite fun, because I could just pick it up, get the gear. I didn't have to dick with a bunch of different stuff to actually make it work. It was in the bags because we just kept hammering ZOS. Dude, you gotta have PTS where it's actually easy for us to test the sets. So and then they made the split with the dungeons, which was good because you could level Undaunted faster. But for me, like, I feel the one thing that fundamentally changed the game is the free zones. Now, I'm not a PvE like E or quester. I did every single quest in the game. You got to give me credit for that, Aloha. Every single quest in the game, I did it on my Nord DK, which I was terrible at, but I did it. I think if the game would have launched like this, with like unlimited space, you could go wherever. Yeah, you might have to take a boat, or yeah, you might. The game would be even more popular now, maybe double its popularity. I'm serious, because that was like the one thing people were like, Skyrim, you do an hour intro quest. I just want to go west. I'm going to go west. And then I'm going to go into this delve. I'm going to go into this dungeon. I'm going to go into this. I feel like if this would have launched like that, it would be World of Warcraft equivalent.
Yeah, I don't really understand why they have not gone to. Oh, yeah, I kind of understand, because they started to create the Elder Scrolls Online in 2007, so it was the time of Burning Crusade in World of Warcraft, so not even yet the golden age of World of Warcraft, and Skyrim has not released yet. So they were, with their mind, we will do Oblivion with the Dark Age of Camelot touch when World of Warcraft is all famous. And so they had this in mind, and the structure of the game came from that. When they saw how Skyrim was popular, they had to rethink it. I think Matt Furor said it in an interview, or I don't know where I pick up this information, but it comes directly from ZeniMax. They had to rethink completely what they were doing, but they were too far in the development. They had already 5 years into it. So they created One Tamriel when they discovered the success of Orsinium. That's also the developer that said. They discovered that it was really working well, the scaling system, etc. And they say, okay, we can apply that not only to all our DLC, but also to the whole game. And so they reworked entirely the whole game to open up and to allow people from all factions to team up together and jump in one zone to another. Now you need to know that the narrative of each zone is going through a logic path. So when you jump from one zone to another, you are missing all that. And so Elder Scrolls Online was not planned to be that way. Their narrative is not planned around that way. And it's something that you need to know when you play for the first time, that maybe it's better to still follow the normal path if you really want to follow the story and understand what's going on. Otherwise, you have no clue why everyone is crying about Darian Gauthier and why he's lost and why it's sad.
All right. Well, let's go over our favorite thing. Before we get to the negative, we're going to start with the positive. Now, I always say like a crap sandwich. You got to serve it with good, crap, good. Never heard that? A crap sandwich?
No, I never heard that.
It's a business term anyway. Like if you're going to give someone feedback and you're their boss, you're like, you're a valued member of this team. One Tamriel, let me tell you what you did good, and then you just hit them with the bad news. Hello, you. All right. So the number one thing is really the sets and the gear. Like I play other games, and I like Star Wars: Old Republic, and I still get on there from time to time, and it's not as gear dependent as this game, and that's a good thing. But also, it's like it's a never ending tinker in this game with its gear. It really, even people think now we know the meta and this and that. I guarantee you a month from now, before a new patch hits, it's going to be like, we found this new set, Armor of Truth, cough, cough, start farming it, believe me. That no one even says, oh, this is a junk set, why would you use it? And I'm not saying I'm the one who invented all this stuff, but people just tinker and tinker and tinker and tinker. And that's what keeps me coming back. The combat and the ability to just basically find weird stuff that just no one's using, it's not meta, it's not popular, and being that guy that gets it, or that gal that figures it out first, and being like,
yeah, that's cool.
It's so satisfying. And One Tamriel was like Christmas and Elder Scrolls Online. Here's a crap ton of monster helms. Here's a crap ton of old sets. I'm like 7th Legion, 500 weapon damage, and it heals.
Yeah, it was crazy because there was in one shot 3 new set by zone that were dropping. It's huge considering the size of the map.
Oh yeah. And I love that you could actually go everywhere. I don't know. I just wish the game would have launched like that, because it was so cool to be able to, like, when I had to level up before, and I'm a pro at leveling. Hell, that's probably what I did the most, is level different characters. You would have to progress through the main story. Then you would have to do a series of all the little side quests that you had to do in the zone. And I always had to do AD, and I hated that. And then I could get to my gold area, and then I could do that. And sometimes I just wanted to go to Stone Falls, the area I loved, or whatever. So two and the same. The exploration and the sets for me were like, this is so much fun. And that's what makes the game so much fun for me. There's tons of stuff I don't like, but the fact that it's just so, there's just so many options and choices, and especially right now in the game. Right now in the game, it's like you can wear 3 different, 4 different, 5 different sets that maybe aren't meta, but you're still really, really good. There isn't like you have to wear Viper and this, and that's what everyone wears. If you don't wear that, you're not competitive. Now it feels like because of One Tamriel and some other patches, we had tons and tons of access to stuff. That's my point.
Sigtrig, what do you think of all of this?
For me, it was the culmination of all the different things that they changed to make this One Tamriel update that put a new breath of life into the game. It brought a lot of people back. It took 3 separate populations within the game and combined it into one population, and you could see, I mean, anywhere you go now that's like a social center in the game, to this day, what's it been, a year later now, give or take? To this day,
yes.
You walk into Mournhold, Ralka, whatever that shithole in Aradon or Grotwood or whatever is. There are tons of people around. They are all over still, and to go back to the dungeons, the sets and all that, you know, the added sets, the added monster helms or monster sets, it gave a whole lot of reason to go back into dungeons that we were writing off. But there's no reason to go into, you know, Direfrost, for instance. Now there is. You know, it gave that reason to go back and look at all this old content again. So, you know, for that, for the social aspect, for bringing the player base together instead of 3 separate little sections of it that really couldn't interact a whole lot outside of beating on each other in Cyrodiil, that unification of everything, it just, I mean, it changed the game. It boosted the life of the game, and it's been real great to see and watch. So that's my big, you know, favorite part of it, I guess.
Aloha's is Craglorn. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, okay, for Craglorn. Craglorn, it was a concept that was not popular. The idea behind was to have an adventure zone where you were supposed to go with a group, with a tank, a healer, 2 DPS, have some adventure, do group content. So it was like a giant dungeon just for you and your friends. And they had even discussed about the size of the group, so maybe they even were planning originally to have bigger group than 4 person. But when it launched, Craglorn, it was for 4 players, and I find the concept amazingly super cool. Finally, as a healer, I could quest and have adventure with a group of 4 friends. I find that enormous, awesome. But this was not popular in general because people didn't want to group up. You also had some way of abusing the system and have grind spots, and you had all kind of things that made Craglorn to be a dead zone in the end. So that concept was really nice in theory, probably popular for some player like me, some weirdos, but in general it was not popular. So they take the chance of One Tamriel to make it a solo zone. But the way they did it is so weird, because you have most of Craglorn is soloable. It's piece easy. It's really ridiculously easy. It was supposed to be something harder. Even the story is a bit more dramatic, so it makes no sense now. You still have some kind of group content, but it's not well defined. So suddenly you were doing like boom, 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 killing stuff, and then you get your ass kicked, and you don't understand. Oh, it was a group zone. Oh, damn. Oh, sorry.
I think we're supposed to be on the positive, but okay.
Well, I cannot be positive with Craglorn. I'm sorry. Why you bring the subject? Craglorn is shit. Sorry. Well, it's my opinion.
Oh, oh my god! I didn't know you were gonna be this passionate about Craglorn, yo. Okay, well, what was good about One Tamriel besides Craglorn?
Well, beside Craglorn, I think, so let's not speak about Craglorn, that's for later. The very good side is the flexibility. As guild leader, as community manager, it's wonderful. Because before it was difficult to organize a group. Oh, guys, let's do an event. What can we do? If we are 4 person, we can do a dungeon. If we are... it's not easy. So when I was leading my guild back in the days, we were always ending in Cyrodiil, not to fight, mind you, but just to have fun together, because it was the only zone that we're scaling. Once Orsinium released, we were going to Orsinium, because you had, a member with that level, another one we want to play with his alt, whatever. And then One Tamriel allow finally the flexibility that make the life of a guild leader really easy. It doesn't matter what faction your player is. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter its level. Doesn't matter whatever, and you can do anything. You can group up with people and have fun together. So I think that's very important, and that's something developer need to think of when they create their game. Now it's things to make it very flexible, accessible, and to have a lot of replayability, so a player can group up easily together, and it will create bonding and interaction easier.
Yeah, I mean, I think you had a great example earlier in earlier shows about Orsinium and why it was so successful. Is like, I keep thinking about it. I'm like, did I really like Orsinium? But I had to ask myself, was that the only time I really did world bosses? Yeah. Was that the only time I had to group up to do world bosses initially? Yeah. Did they have quests that just made it a lot easier to play with other people? Yeah. I was like, they actually did kind of nail Orsinium in terms of like getting people to do the content. There was incentives, it was fun, and it was slightly difficult. It wasn't like, I couldn't figure out how to do it, but I'm not going to sit there for 30 minutes and tank and spank a world boss when I could just get 5 people to do it. You know what I mean? So I think that was a hit. But yeah, it's kind of funny how they model it after that. So, okay. What could they have done better in One Tamriel? Now, Lola, besides like Craglorn or anything, what else do you think needed improvement?
Yes, I think the way they were... It's a difficult point, because I think they did the best they could with the game already created that way. Let's not forget that it's a change that they have implemented after. It's a correction from a mistake that were originally done. So I don't think they could have done better, but in the ideal world, I think the system of Guild Wars 2 is slightly better, and it would have fit better. It would have fit better the Elder Scrolls Online narrative and the sense of progression that some players like, which is to not scale up the world to the player, but to scale the player to the zone. So you still have the zone 10 to 20, 20 to 30, etc. But when you are higher level, you can go back and you will scale down. I think for the balance, the difficulty, it will have been easier to balance the combat that way. And for the narrative, it's more logical as well. But, I think the way they did is fine.
We're running up to a couple things that make that scaling kind of a problem. It's not the scaling by itself, it's the scaling plus the power creep that comes with the champion point system. When One Tamriel dropped, it wasn't such a bad thing. Doing levels 1 through 50 made sense at the time, and now it's like, why is it even there? And then stuff gets easier and easier to do as time progresses because of the power creep with champion points. So I think that kind of combined is what makes that a bit of a pressure point for a lot of people.
Okay, and is that your thing they should have done better?
I wanted to add on that. I mean, that's one of my gripes with One Tamriel, and it didn't start that way. At first I was like, yeah 1 through 50, at this point, that's fine. But now a year later, after I've leveled 5 or 6 other characters to champion rank during that time, 1 to 50 seems kind of pointless, but at the same time, it needs to be there for new players, and I don't know how to fix that. I don't know what the answer is.
I mean, I don't mind the 1 to 50. The thing that I mind about hitting endgame in this game is that when you hit endgame, you're far from it. Undaunted, weapon skill lines. The fact that I hit level 50 and my weapon skill line's 42, my class skill line's 42, I hit 50 in those, and then I have to spend 4 more hours grinding out sword and board ultimate. Then I have to spend how many hours grinding out Mage's Guild. Then I have to spend how many hours. You see where I'm going with this? It's okay, it's a half-ass system. 1 to 50, like with veteran levels, rip veteran levels.
I want them back.
I actually don't mind him thinking about it now, because like you actually had to progress your character, and it was like, yeah, I'm gonna reach Fighters Guild 10 before I hit CP 14, 15, 16, whatever, right? There's no worry about hitting that. Where it's like now I hit level 50, I'm Fighters Guild 7, Undaunted -5, Mage's Guild a half. It's like, good luck. Now I can hit endgame in 4 hours easily. 3 hours if I like just min-max. And I have to spend 8 hours getting lore books? Sick build, bro. Like, hey, what'd you do this weekend? It was Christmas. Did you spend time with your family? No, bro. I went and got 8 hours of lore book. Okay, sick. That's a good life, yeah. But, I mean, they've done a lot of good things. But that's my big rant is, about that, cutting you off. But you know what I mean? It's like, okay, you did the leveling, the CP thing, the scaling, but yet when I hit endgame, I'm just a little baby still. Yeah, I might have to be able to use my CPs, but here's a little baby. Here's a Mage Guild 2.
Yeah, it's a difficult one because when you play for the first time, it makes sense that all of this take time. It's supposed to be an adventure. You're supposed to, to enjoy it, and it's not supposed to be something easy. It's not supposed to be something that you find with add-on either, by the way. No, I'm kidding, but it's to go back for old rants. So when you play for the first time, you need to do the quest, you need to enjoy them, you need to explore, find your way, etc. But when you're leveling your 20 character like Delta or Inkling, because what you're interested in the game is to have different build, different character for doing VMA and blah blah blah, then it becomes boring. So I don't really know how they could maybe do a system so you can yes, you can unlock it with the account. Or maybe you need to do a shortest quest to unlock it with your new characters if you have done it once. Like a legacy sort of system, so it's still like role-play thing, and you cannot say break immersion. Something to make the player life easier, and that you don't find it a current store, please, because I see them coming with their book for, and yeah, I understand you will buy it. But that will be sucky. It will be sucky because a new player will buy it too, and then it will be. And what's the point of even doing it?
Well, you'd have to get it initially, but yeah. Okay, so my thing is, Bro Sidon brought up a good point, and correct me if I'm wrong, chat room or you guys, but I think this is where it really eliminated faction. When I say eliminate faction, it meant that, when you were DC or whatever, you were DC. You know what I mean? It seemed like when they had all the factions just kind of merge and whatever else, I don't know, it kind of lost the incentive to have faction pride. And then I think it was you could go on any campaign, PvP wise, no matter what faction was home there. So originally to be like your main character would be homed in the 30-day campaign. And if you played on an EP alt, you couldn't go to that campaign too. So now what you had was, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is what it was. So basically what people would do is they would get on, if there were crappy blue players on, they'd get on their EP character. If there were crappy EP characters, they'd get on their blue character, and they would just farm them. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it was like, you lost all the, I'm an effing DC for life, bro, or what, whatever. You lost that, and that was kind of like, it made it easier, I get that, but sometimes easier isn't always better. I didn't like
the thing is that with the faction pride thing, it never existed. It has been a breakdown at the moment where you could have the Explorer pack and be a Khajiit or Almeri Dominion,
true.
Daggerfall Kashyyyk. That makes no sense. It would have been a faction pride if you had limited, but yes, for business reason or for combat balance reason, they had to open up all class to any faction, etc. So I don't think that it matters so much, because honestly, well, I'm not a great PvPer, of course, so I may be not stalking like a person that take that at heart, but I have made all my character Daggerfall Covenant because that's where I had my guild and my friends. But I have never feel that faction pride, because most of the people around me were Altmer, sorcerer, mage anyway, and whatever was the meta at the time, and so I never felt that faction pride because of that. Now in Cyrodiil, I think that's a big mistake, because that touched the PvP strategy inside the PvP. The faction pride, if it doesn't exist outside Cyrodiil, it needs to kind of happen inside, and at least you cannot have spies or switching character because your faction is losing, and
that's all it is.
That's lame. That's lame.
That's all it is.
Yes, that break the game, and I didn't realize or didn't pay attention or didn't remember that they did that, but that's stupid.
Now I have. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I was just saying, that could be easily taken care of by putting faction locks back on campaigns. Just if you home a campaign with a DC character, then that campaign is only DC for you until you pay to change it, or the campaign resets and you can rehome at that point with a different faction if you want. But
you remember old games, Warhammer Online, when you picked a faction. When you picked a faction, that was your account. I'm talking, you had to start a different @name, a different account to get a different faction. So, like, it's just too easy to switch factions. Now, I am guilty of it. I've started AD, moved to DC, went to EP, come back, and I have different friends on different factions, and Battlegrounds is a way to kind of do that, where I can be with an EP, I'm a DC, and I have an AD healer friend. We can all group up, go into Battlegrounds together. But Cyrodiil, it was really fun and tragic at the same time. But when it was PvEers had to PvP to get their bonuses. If they were homed in a certain campaign, they would get 5% weapon and spell damage outside of said campaign. Or whatever the bonuses were, I forget what they were. But so you would see the PvE trials folks come on 7 o'clock at night, steamroll a campaign, because they had to go get their buffs and then go into PvE. So whether you liked it or not, I don't think that should be there for competitive PvE sakes, but let's be real. Is it competitive now? No, there's a lot of RNG, right? So, but it was like your campaign mattered. Like, you couldn't even do PvE effectively without your campaign, right? That made you feel a part of the world. That made you feel a part of your faction. And if your faction sucked, whatever, it sucked. But you couldn't just switch. So, like, everyone now, I come back to the game 6-9 months later, everyone's EP. Everybody. I'm like, why is everybody EP? Because no one likes competition. As soon as the good DC AD guilds leave, they all log on to the team that has the really powerful organized group on. It's like, what are we just going to do? Just follow the herd all day?
Yeah, to be honest, I've always wondered why they still Cyrodiil things in the first place in an Elder Scroll game, but that's another discussion for another day, because it fits, I don't know, like, it doesn't belong to that game, to be honest, but yeah. I know, Delta, you have a lot of fun in it, but there's something that doesn't work in Cyrodiil. We don't hear you anymore.
He's muted.
Derp. Edit. One last thing is world bosses. Now, you talk about this a lot, but other games, world bosses, there was like a weekly quest. A weekly quest to down this world boss. And it was a mother, right? I mean, 24 deep to kill this world boss. And there would be a, 1% chance to get some loot, like a mount. That would be kind of unique, whatever. Everyone would have it after 6 months anyways, but to initially get it was great. It feels like ESO's world bosses are an utter joke. Like, they have a decent chance to get it, but then you have dolmens, which are actually really freaking cool, but yet those feel like a joke. So you have all these cool little interactive things in the world, but there's not one really badass one.
No.
It was like one Tamriel. I would think like, why don't we just tune one of them up? Like one world boss in the zone is going to drop gold jewelry of whatever that zone gear is at a 0.1% rate. It's going to have a cool mount with it. By the way, you're going to need 24 people to take it down. That'd be sick.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think they have already upped the world bosses that were soloable with a non-max level character before. But still, very good player can still take them down quite easily. For normal and average player, they will need to be 4 or 5, something like this, I guess. It has been an improvement, honestly, but it could be better.
It needs. They need another pass. I mean, because they gave world bosses a pass once before, maybe around One Tam, I don't remember, but you know, they kind of increased the difficulty on them. But there's still ones that you can go in there and just completely face roll, and then there's others where I've seen a dozen people just wipe on them. And it's like, this one world boss I can solo, but I got to bring my trials group to this other world boss. Why is there that disparity? And why does the one that you legitimately need a group or a raid group of people to take down, why does that one give the same shit rewards that, the world boss that you can solo with your Bobo pet sork? Like, they definitely need to do another pass on that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And the idea of Deltia is cool.
Hey, it was a good idea, right? So
yes, it is. It could be even, something special that happens sometimes, a different world boss that can happen in like the avatar of Molag Bal himself coming in one of the Dark Anchor sometimes.
Remember Imperial City? Like, when I went down, there's a video clip of it. When I killed Molag Bal in Imperial City in the bottom, spoiler by the way, a couple years, get over it. That was badass, right?
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing about Rift was randomness of the game. And to some extent it was, didn't work out perfectly, whatever, but like there is no like random dolmens on a timer. There is no random world bosses just strolling. Like the zones are great. There's some incentive to do them. They're not that difficult, but there's no randomness. There's no like exploration. Should I go explore and see Billy Bob the Crusher, who might drop this mount, is boom, I'm typing in my guild. Dude, everyone, Billy Bob the Crusher's out. Stop what you're doing. You know what I mean? That's fun. So, I don't know.
I agree.
We will see.
Right.
Maybe that will be one of the improvements I will do in 2018. Who knows?
Who knows? All right, so I think we've gone over our what we could have done better. Loa, did you finally, besides Craglorn?
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not going in Craglorn anymore.
All right. Now, one thing we haven't talked about ever before is dueling, and that became a part of the game. And
yeah.
What do we think about that? Let's start with Sid first.
Okay.
Oh, Loa, you're itchy.
Yeah, me. I think it's important because I am such a nice duelist. When it launched, I had, you have this option, decline automatically duel. I've clicked on that, and I never did a duel, ever. That's how a cool duelist I am. That's all I have to say. It's boring when people are dueling next to the Way Shrine, by the way, in the city.
You said that's boring, or you don't like it?
Oh, it's okay. It's fine.
You don't like it?
No, I'm pretending to be the boring person that whine about this because that has been a subject at the release of the duel. But I'm fine with it. It's not like there is so many around it, and the auto decline option is very handy for someone that don't want to do it. When I'm a new character and I have not done it, and suddenly I receive a what you want to duel with me? Just get away.
Oh, everyone trying to duel me. I'm like on my crafter, like duel. I'm like, dude, just come on, bro. Like, all right, Sig.
I've got mixed feelings on dueling. As it is, it's fun. When I've got friends or whoever that wants to have a little spar, it's cool. On the other hand, People who duel at way shrines and near guild traders and stuff like that are the same kind of people who stand in the middle of an aisle in a grocery store looking at their phone. They won't get out of the way. They're the same people who yell and scream and kick the back of your seat at the movie theater. It's totally fucking annoying, and I hate it. But I have found, actually, you turn off, like, you let it so that people can challenge you to a duel, and then never hit either of the buttons, and you can lock up their dueling. They actually have to zone out or log out so that they can challenge somebody else to a duel. So that's a lot of fun.
Oh, okay.
But, yeah, that's my thoughts on dueling.
All right,
So
I'll give my thoughts on it.
yeah.
You know, initially I didn't like dueling, and I've come back around on it as some. The thing about dueling is it's its own game. Like, people don't understand. Like, if I go do a build and I'm out in Cyrodiil, I'm expecting to get 4 to 5 people beating the crap out of me at once. And my goal is to kill one person and survive. If I'm in a duel, it's like a different build. There's like meta builds for dueling. So these people that sit around the way shrine and try to challenge me all the time, I'm like, sure, let me go get my Stamp DK and let me throw my Durox Bane on, Fasalas, Troll King, and I will shit on you. Don't let me get... I know how to play this game, bro. Believe me. So, but the good thing about dueling is it really fine-tunes your skill in your build. So what I do is, to grow is to fail, to be completely honest. And so when I'm, like, let's say working on a Templar or working on a specific build, and I'm like, I need to go up against really good players. And I'm tired of going to resources and kicking the crap out of people that don't know how to CC break. Let's improve this build. Let's go to Stormhaven. Let's challenge the people that sit here all day and do this. My goal isn't to, like, win every fight or win half of them. It's just to improve my build and see, what am I lacking? Can I survive a little bit longer? Do I have bad resource sustain? Because if I can survive that 1v1 and do really good, 50-50 against duelers, then I should be able to take on 1v3s of inexperienced players. And that's where I can really, really shine, is that it really fine-tunes your skill too, because you're the only one that can heal yourself. You're the only one that has to use your potions and resto all. You have to press the buttons. There is no someone else breath of life in you. There is no line of sighting. There is no... So that's what dueling is really good. But it's just such a low bar, in my opinion, of where they have it. Not the people that do it or enjoy it, but give the player some tools. Like, there's people that spend tons and tons of time organizing tournaments, putting money together. Why not make it an esport thing where there's an instance-based thing and you can set it up? Players can actually set up tournaments to do it. You can gamble on players. Like, make it a part. Remember Morrowind, the OG, triple OG in Morrowind? There was actually a dueling arena in there. Now, obviously, it was NPCs, but something like that was really, really cool. So it's always been a part of Elder Scrolls. I don't see why they couldn't implement some simple system to let duelers actually have a tournament system and self-organize.
Right.
Yeah. On that, I think you need to be careful with what you wish, because yeah. No, it's the things. I remember in World of Warcraft, in the original game, you had this big, large arena, which was the Gurubashi arena. It was just a place where PvP was activated. So people were there to duel, of course, or to gank each other, or to organize big server tournaments. And that was something organized generally by the community in this place that was just a decor. Actually, there was no system. And it was very nice, and it was something really cool that's, make the community get together. The next expansion, they implemented Arena. That was, of course, something that people asked for. The Gurubashi Arena tournament stopped to exist, except on roleplay server. And that's something which is a little bit sad, is that as soon as you implement something to make the life of players easy, then you do not have those kind of workarounds that player will always find. And then it's everyone disappear in that pre-made stuff. So if they do something like that, they need to make it nicely so it's not too instanced yet. So it stay open and organic and allow players to really organize something generally there. That's just my points on that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Another topic. What I was interested in is weapon ultimates and to see how they evolved over time. Like, even myself, I completely whiffed on the Resto ultimate. I look back at the video and I'm like, yeah, I basically completely whiffed on that one. Hit a couple other ones, but I was like, I was completely effing wrong about Resto ult and how effective it was, which is cool because we had speculated that maybe this year a new weapon skill line would come. And even just specifically weapon ultimates, it changed the game. Changed the game. Because now what you equip really determines your output and damage, healing, tankiness. Remember that sword and board ult when I first read it, I'm like, no way, my Templar is gonna be crazy strong. So Sig, what do you think about weapon ults?
I like them. Some of them obviously do a lot better than others, and it's another place where I think the combat balance team needs to get in there and do a pass on things. But overall, they added some cool variety to your skill sets in the game, and I don't see any reason that they shouldn't have been added. So.
Right, makes sense.
I mean, I've got one character right now that I just double bar the Destro ult on because I have no reason to use anything different on that particular character right now. So, and I love the thing, but
I think it's really cool. First of all, it gives more possibility for player like Delcia to theorycraft their stuff, or for a player like me to try out different weird stuff. But so more choice is always nice. Of course, it's harder to balance. But what's very nice, and specifically nice with those ultimates, it's that you can have with your weapon. I will speak specifically about the restoration stuff one. It gives a powerful heal to classes that do not have a very strong healing tree, and that was really great because when I got that for my Dragon Knight healer, I started heal without the destruction staff, the restoration staff ultimate, and then it came on, and I really had no excuse to heal bad because I had the Breath of Life basically, which was my ultimate. And so I think it gives more tools to the player to make more variety in their builds, and if the combat team is careful to the balance, I think it's only nice. Plus, some of them are super cool, like the bow one. I don't give a crap, it's bad. It's super cool. Choo 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 choo. Super nice.
Oh, it's not bad. It's nasty.
Yeah.
Soul Assault, no. I mean, dual wield 2H, but they've seen some balancing changes. Destro was a little bit too powerful for PvP, and I think the same thing will happen with if they come out with a new weapon skill line. It'll take some tweaks and balances, and everyone's going to use it. But,
it's always like that. In a game like ESO, it's important, and that's why it's always changing, and that's why theorycrafter like you, every patch you have a new balance change, and then you suddenly the old set that no one used now is useful because it combined well. It has a nice synergy with that many little change they did to that spell for that class, and it gives you kind of some work to do. So it's cool, in a way.
What new weapon line do you want?
Well,
pick one.
People want most of the time when you read the forum, it's spears or crossbow.
Yeah, but what do you want?
Brawling. No, brawling.
Unarmed.
Brawling. Oh, that's like some...
No. No, what I would like to have is a different weapon that serves Magicka builds. Because when you're a Magicka player, you're stuck with stuff. And if you want something else, just, for the fun, I don't know, a book, an orb, a dagger, something that is not a staff. To do something different. To have a different feel when you fight.
Well, Sig, what's yours?
I'm a little torn on whether it should be like a world skill line or an actual weapon line somehow, but I'd really like, Magicka-based conjured weapons. Like a conjured sword or, whatever.
Oh, that's
I think
pretty
that'd be
cool.
really cool.
Yeah.
On the Stam side, I'm in the spear camp. I think that'd be a really sweet addition to the game.
bound weapons and spear. That would be pretty cool. Yeah. Okay, last thing we're touching on. We're gonna wrap up here, but so we talked about everything else. Now they added the Witches Festival right around this time. Just a quick 1 minute, 2 minute spiel. What do you think about the advent of the festivals and how they've come across?
That's very nice. It's very cool. Player wanted that. You have that in every game. They have done it nicely. It really fit the lore. It gives something special to do. You have achievements. You can unlock, new furniture, new costume, new fun stuff. They really try to make it more interesting for role players, so role players have their little things to do. I think that for everyone it's bring something new, some change, a reason to get in the game. And even if you don't give a crap about earning mud balls and that kind of token, you have the bonus for experience, so you can farm better your X alt, so it's kind of cool.
Big tricks.
I before Elder Scrolls Online, I spent 7-8 years, whatever, playing Lord of the Rings Online, and they had, seasonal holiday events, and I really liked the way they did it. I got used to the fact that they would always be there, and there'd always be something new to get. And when ESO started doing these festivals, it kind of hit that Care Bear itch that I needed, for just, silly things to do in game. And it was really nice. And now that we've been, we're starting to see the second year of this stuff. We've had a couple festivals that have now happened twice. I'm definitely glad to see that they are adding new collectibles and new things that you can get. But eventually they're going to have to add, they'll keep the content that's there now, but they're going to have to add a little bit of new content, I think, like next year. Yep. When New Life comes around, there's going to have to be an alternative thing or an additional thing that you can go do to earn festival rewards, just to keep it fresh. I don't mind repeating, the same 9 or 8 or 9, whatever, New Life quests on a yearly basis, but next year, add something else to it as well.
Yes, it's exactly what the chat is saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's good. I mean, I think it's one of the best things they've done in the game, honestly. I mean, coming from Star Wars: The Republic, they initially launched a festival or whatever you want to call it, and it was really well received. But after that, it kind of tailored off and petered off. They never invested any more resources into it to have new things to collect, have new titles, have new quests, So I think a combination of the festivals along with like double AP, Imperial City, double things, it keeps there's always something going on in the game. And that makes it fun and fresh no matter how long it's been going on. I would honestly like to see some currency things. When I say currency, I mean you do the Witches Festival and you get 1 token. And there's a vendor with something that is a mount that has 100 tokens.
Oh yeah,
1,000 tokens.
Something crazy. You can do it several years.
This game, they're learning. Zos is learning. So let's take a look at the Asylum trial. It has the very hard mode. The hardest you can do can give you this costume. You can sell it or whatever it's called, polymorph. You can sell. It's 5-10 million gold, whatever. That's cool. Ultra rare crap. Ultra rare. Not rare. Crazy rare.
And it was not a seasonal event, but I really enjoyed this dungeon event when you could have the Jackbox box and you had some little things. Of course, you had a lot of people complaining about their bad RNG and the fact that they only earn lockpick, but I find it was very nice. It gave an incentive for a weekend to go back and go do a lot of dungeon with your friend. You saw Inkling was streaming. He did all his character. I think I really did a sort of marathon craziness.
And that was insane.
And personally, I came with my Sorcerer Tank. I didn't play for 2 years, so it was cool to rediscover it. It's the kind of things that bring back player, or that kind of encourage player that never do dungeon to do some dungeon again, and it's always a good idea to do something like that.
All right, wrapping things up. So we were going to take off next week. It would be like New Year's Eve, so we're going to take a week off, and we're going to come back, and it's going to be January 7th at 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. What's the GMT, Aloha?
Yes, for me it's still 9 or 21.
21. Okay, so we're going to be on January 7th, and the two topics we want to do is, if you didn't know, the game director came out with a letter and basically hinted at the things that were going to come in the first DLC, which is 2 new dungeons, most likely Nord style. Sig,
Yeah.
I can't see you smiling, but I can see you smiling.
Yeah.
So to vote, basically, you go in the top corner. There's a little poll,
Or
if you're
there.
in the lowest chat,
Yeah.
there's a poll as well.
Yeah.
And vote what you want us to talk about. The first topic is: do you want us to talk and speculate on the 2 new dungeons they're going to add, or quality of life? They said quality of life, appearance, and storage.
Yes, that's going to be awesome.
So both are I'm really excited about. I'm excited about that.
Yes, it's going to be good. So obviously we cannot miss this subject, but you guys are choosing which one we're speaking.
So choose it up. New quests or new dungeons usually mean new monster helms, new theory crafting, new broken things that we must obtain. But yeah, thanks for joining, and have a great holiday, Merry Christmas, whatever politically correct thing you want me to say. Sig?
Yeah.
Sig, final thoughts? Final thoughts, Sig. Eat big to get big.
That's right. Everybody, thanks for joining us. Y'all kick ass for coming to these things. We appreciate it. Happy holidays and all that good stuff. Take care of yourselves. Be nice to somebody.
Yeah. As it's
I'm out.
lice.
I'm out.
I cannot say goodbye. Fine, time out.
Aw, saddle Loa.
Happy holidays, guys. Bye. Take care of yourself. And have a very good one in 2018.
All right, I ended the stream. Are you there? Hello, are you still streaming?
Oh yeah, we're still streaming. So they listen to you. It's not the time to say anything secret now.
Oh God! Oh, well, hello.
It's all good. Yes, because now I'm going to be starting my Christmas marathon, and I do not know how long I will keep going, but the goal is to stay as long as possible.
24-hour stream.
What game are you playing?
I will probably start with ESO, as people are watching ESO stuff. It will make sense, right?
I think so.
So,
All
yes,
right,
of course, guys, you hear Deltia, but it's okay. It's a little interlude. He's warned. He will not say anything secret now.
You're getting
I
that.
hate Sig tricks.
He does. He fucking can't stand me. But y'all are getting that little, backstage sneak peek right now. So enjoy it.
Yeah.
All right, well, I gotta go eat some food and get fat. So you guys
Yeah.
have a happy holiday.
Yes, you too.
Enjoy it, man.
Enjoy. Bye bye.